It will be a challenge, won't it, Don, considering those three sides from what we've seen so far, despite the defeat against Germany, you still would look at Portugal and think they've got a little bit more spark than anyone that England has faced so far. Yeah. It's going to be a big ask.
It will, because they've gone through England, top the group, which sounds good, no goals conceded, but they've not really gone through with any momentum. You think of the bigger sides, you think teams like France have got more gears to go through. Germany have just come off the back of an unbelievable win. And Portugal, they can go and destroy anyone on their day. So they're going to have to improve, and he's going to have to find something, Gareth. He's a very conservative manager, so let's see what he's got going into that game, because you can't be defensively minded. I understand the clean sheet method in the centre-halves that they've got. It's all about the protection in front of them, in my opinion. Now, that's why he's gone with two holding midfield players, so that box of four, if you like, offers a very good screen. But can you get enough players forward? Can you get your Sakas on the ball and your Grealishes on the ball in the very biggest of games? Because you turn a semi-offensive performance with the teams that we've just mentioned and you are going up against it. That is a hard ask, the form that they're in.
Shaka, just explain that second half a little bit. Why did everything go so flat so quickly, considering, using the word, that England had a bit of a momentum after a good start. Obviously 1-0 at the break, and then it's just like, whoa.
Because
that's the technical term.
That's who England have been under Gareth Southgate, in all honesty. They've been a team who, despite the talent that have at their disposal, they've just kind of done enough. Get a goal, and let's just make sure, and our priority is to defend that. Right. We don't send our wing backs forward. We don't send our defensive midfielders and right centre-fielders forward more than they have to, and rely on whoever's bringing pace on the wings this time around. It's Sterling and Saka and Harry Kane and his finishing. And other than that, you take no chances, you gamble none, you don't give anything away at the back. And Sterling said it in the interview. That's what we do. We keep clean sheets. And that's how you win games. So they don't excite. And if you're one of those teams in Group F, and we still have to see what comes of that group of death, nothing you've seen so far really worries you.
No.
Nothing really worries you. As I said before, Kane really hasn't found the form that we know of him.
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling, despite scoring the 2 goals and hitting the woodwork on a couple of occasions, I don't think he looks as frightening as we know he can. And argument being, he hasn't looked that frightening all year long for club or country. And well, we see Saka today, but it's our first real look at him. So if you're one of those teams, what's really keeping you up at night? And there's nothing.
You're not sweating. I suppose the only thing is, but even that could go against England, is the fact there's going to be 45,000 fans at Wembley. But we know, and we've seen in these 3 matches, home support hasn't exactly been overwhelming. In fact, they were booed off against Scotland. They're very impatient. So that's going to be an interesting factor as well. Not only that, you've got Gareth Southgate tactically up against a World Cup winner.
You have a side that is an identity that's the English aren't used to seeing. The English are used to seeing, going forward and defend and tackle, and it's just, who would have thought that it would have been Italy who's throwing all the numbers forward, scoring a ton of goals, and England's like, let's grind out a result here and go 0-0 against Scotland and then scramble a 1-0 in the last match. And I think it's frustrating for the fans. Some of it is always the case, and we've all lived there enough that the expectation is bounced up so high that sometimes it exceeds what the possibility is. But there's so much attacking flair in this side that really isn't being showcased, and I think that's the part that is frustrating.
I think they're young, Dan. I think when you look at England's players...
Well, Saka's young. He was great today.
No, but what I'm saying is they're young in terms of their caps, and they're young in terms of tournament football. You stick young players, and Jude Bellingham is an example. At 17, he's an absolute Rolls Royce and more or less dominated the Bundesliga over the last 2 years. He's been sensational. But you underestimate what it's like when you're 17 and Saka and Grealish.
They were great today.
No, Dan, but you were great today for what, 45 minutes?
Yeah. And it was still better than some of the veterans. It's still better than Kane, better than Sterling, better than those others that we've seen.
Dan, it's tournament football. You put young players in a tournament football in high pressure at Wembley when at any given time England can bottle it. And they've probably only got, what, Harry Kane and maybe Kyle Walker, who's got a serious amount of caps. You're asking young players
to
to
that
go and
point,
play at the
Dom,
likes of Germany and Portugal and France.
To that point, though, Dom, we've all played with young players and the old
but the whole
cliche,
squad,
the
the whole
naivety,
team,
the
Shaka.
naivety of youth and just let them play. I think the challenge here is none of those players are being utilised in the way that we've seen them do for their clubs or seen them excel with their clubs. You talk about Bellingham, we could talk about Jadon Sancho, Foden not even in the squad today. I mean, about the only players who play similar roles for England that they do with their clubs are Grealish and Saka.
But does it not count for anything when all these young players who are playing really well for their clubs have hardly got any caps for England?
I think when they're that talented, allow them to play the games that come natural to them.
But you look at the spine. You've got Kane, you've got Henderson, you've got Maguire. They've all got caps.
Yeah, 3 players.
But that's your spine, and then you put the youngsters around them.
I think you're underestimating what it's like for a youngster or a team of youngsters just to go into a tournament and go, I mean, England were favourites before ball was kicked. How on earth?
No one who knows anything picked.
Well, the bookies had them favourites, which was ridiculous.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.